Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, producer Chris, once again behind the scenes and live for today's show. As promised, it's been a busy day with the La'el Collins and Damien Wilson workouts this morning, and we did the video before that, and now we're back to chaos and everything in our normal planned live show, and we'll have a fun one. So do you want to sign La'el Collins? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me in the comment section of today's video. 82% say yes. Now, again, this is assuming the practice squad signing, not the. It's not going to be an active roster signing. Collins working out today for the Dallas Cowboys. Physical, by the way, a key portion of that, and seeing what kind of shape, etc., that he is in at this stage. We'll see how that all plays out. I was surprised to see Damien Wilson on the workout list, too. We'll get into that one a little bit here. Would you sign him? Y for yes, N for no. James says yes, insurance only. I think that's what you'd be doing. You're not signing him to bring him in as a starter, and we've had this. I've said this 1,000 times, and I kind of feel bad kind of using it over and over again, but practice squad signings are free. There's no downside to it. I'll sign a bunch of guys to the practice squad because there are normally guys on there that don't care if you cut. It's like you're getting an active roster player and paying them the rest of their money. It's easy to move on from that perspective. If they don't work out or do work out, great. Y for yes, N for no. Would you sign him? 82% say yes, with the common theme being, hey, you need offensive line depth. There are no good offensive linemen. A healthy La'el Collins might be one. You're not going to get prime Collins anymore, to be clear, but you never know what you'll end up with, I suppose. All right, so if you only pick one of those two guys to sign that they've worked or are working out / worked out today, depending on the timing of that whole thing there, LC for La'el Collins, DW for Damien Wilson. If you can only pick one of them to sign to the practice squad, who is it? For me, it's Collins. So as I said on this morning's video, I was surprised to see Damien Wilson on the workout list because he wasn't good last year, and he's had no interest at all. And there wasn't the bad injury. Collins has the injury, that's why he's unsigned. Wilson was unsigned because he just nobody wanted him. So I say La'el Collins, even though I do think you can make a real argument that Damien Wilson is probably a bigger need. Linebacker is a bigger need for the Cowboys at this stage. I already see people saying Dalvin Cook. We will talk about Dalvin Cook on today's show. I promise you. I'm just going to make you guys wait. And I actually don't want him. I will explain why in today's video. We can go to the weigh-in at some point earlier. Not right now, but in the build-up, we should go to that one too. I'll explain why in the video. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. Trying to buy tickets, because let's be honest, we didn't think Dallas was going to be at home for the postseason. If you're trying to buy tickets for the playoff run, or if you want to wait and make sure that they are actually playing at home in the postseason, Game Time is the perfect spot for last-minute tickets. You shouldn't have to worry about when you're trying to buy tickets for the next big event, whether that is a playoff game or concert or comedy or whatever. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the app, create your account, and use code CowboysChat for $20 off your first purchase. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. It's not just Game Time that's sponsoring us here at the Cowboys Report. It's also Prize Picks. You go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. You get a first deposit match up to $100. Daily fantasy sports made easy. It's just 2 to 6 player stat projections, more than, less than. It's that simple. Hit 9 of my last 13 NFL prize picks. I'm in the black, baby. prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Super chat I do want to get to here, but first, with the workouts coming in of Damien Wilson, of La'el Collins, name a Cowboys legend who you want to work out next with wrong answers only. Wrong answers only. I'll get some shout-outs. All right, J.J. Wilcox, a lot of Des Bryants. So they're wrong answers. So we need not good players, guys. That's what the wrong answers mean. Tavon Austin, now we're talking. Taco Charlton, Morris Claiborne. Who needs Dan Bailey? Also a good one. Well, someone said Terrence Stewart on the roster. Rico Gathers, that's a good one. Cole Beasley, I think the current version does count. Jason Garrett, almost Cowboys legend, Earl Thomas. Barry Church, Brett Maher. Ooh, Boss Man Fat. That's a good one, too. David Irving doesn't count because David Irving is exempt from the Cowboys legend bit because he didn't care at all about football. Rolando McClain. Alexander says me. Joseph Randall. There's some meat on that bone in the ground game, right? Greg Hardy. He's kind of exempt from it, too, for being a shitty person. Clinton Dix. That's a great one. Joseph Randall again. Chaz Green. Shewo Olanalua. What a throwback name right there. The fullback from TCU. Antoine Woods, Byron Jones, Roy Williams. Which one? Felix Jones, Lance Dunbar, Laurent Robinson, Quincy Carter, Felix Jones. There's a lot of good ones in there. Chad Hutchinson, too. I like it. All right, from Crispy Bacon. Tom doesn't want Dalvin Cook because he is cooked. Yeah, he is. Let's go to that Cook way in here. The ground game is not good. I know all of that. Pollard's been a big disappointment too. Dalvin Cook ain't gonna block better suddenly. He's not gonna fix your blocking scheme. He's been bad in New York. I wouldn't expect any of us outside of us like crazy diehard addicts, or if it's our jobs, to be watching Jets football because they've been terrible all year long. Cook's not good. He's been terrible this year. The regression signs are already there, and it's hit hard this season. So would you add Dalvin Cook? 1 for yes, 0 for no. The original plan was I was just going to let the La'el Collins and Damien Wilson video ride today, and now I'm changing the plan altogether, and we're going to put the Dalvin Cook and other rumors video out tonight, and it'll just be the mailbag tomorrow. Would you add him? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Like Truant says, better than Pollard. Here's the thing. He's actually not. And we all know how disappointing Tony Pollard has been. That's how bad it is. I know what, I like Tom Pelissero. He's a good reporter. It is very clear. Everything he has said about Dalvin Cook is directly from Dalvin Cook's agency. That's why Pelissero got all the exclusives. It has been propaganda. Saying, he's fresh and he's a dynamic playmaker. No, he's not. The Dalvin Cook that we remember, that we all saw be really good for the Vikings, isn't there anymore. He's not. Now, Action Jackson says practice squad. This does apply to the rule that practice squad is always fine. Always fine. I will never be mad at a practice squad thing. I have doubts as to if Dalvin Cook would accept that. He mutually parted ways with the Jets because he wasn't getting the ball at all in New York. Also, I think Malik Davis is a better player right now. Which is weird to say out loud, but this version of Dalvin Cook, who had already shown all the signs of regression that we talked about and raised concerns about in the offseason when he was a free agent, they all came to a screaming head in a bad way. We'll go in depth on the stats here in a little bit, I promise you. Back to football on the field Cowboys conversation. Do you want the number 2 seed? Y for yes, N for no. Which I also can't believe this is a conversation we're having on Cowboys social media. Of course we want the 2 seed. I'm more intrigued by the Dalvin Cook conversation than this one. But yes, we want the number 2 seed. You can make an argument that maybe there's a specific path that makes more sense if you go on the road, beat the Bucs or NFC South winner, and then upsets happen, then you're back at home. Okay, you're asking for a lot of ifs and buts there. You want the 2 seed. It's all you want. I'm talking big picture here. I'm trying to avoid San Francisco as long as humanly possible. That's the team I don't think you can beat. I can beat everybody else. So if somebody else can take care of it, Great. If not, I'll play in the championship game. Because you know what I don't want to have happen is we're the 5 seed. The Lions don't get beat by the Rams. You do beat the Bucs. The Eagles take care of business against their team. And now you got to go play San Francisco in the second round. That is a thing I want to avoid at all costs. You're also a better team at home. Like, sure, that whole standpoint of, like people say, no, I'm home field advantage. Yeah, sure, there's not a great home field advantage at Dallas. So you want to go play where there is home field advantage to the other team? Doesn't make any sense to me. Victor, by the way, you're not going to be able to get Derrick Henry next week. I've seen that before, by the way. I'm not sure where this is starting. I've seen this from other random accounts on social media. The Titans are not going to cut Dalvin Cook and go play for a playoff team. That's not how this works. So it's not going to happen. Fun idea, but not how it's going to go at this point. Now, if you want the Cowboys to make a playoff run, like the video for me right now. Get to 100 likes here on today's show. 76 is our number right now. I think we can get to 100 before we get through. We're 10 away. We're 10 away on that front there. Like that video if you want the Cowboys to make that playoff run for them, which I think we all do. I think we're all very tired of being one and done. So there are worse spots to be, but it's not a fun spot to be, We got there. Thank you all so much. Coming up live on today's show, Cowboys news. I'm going to answer this one real quick. Brenda, can we beat the Lions without the refs? The refs almost screwed you in that game. The refs are the reason why the Lions had a chance late. Hendershot didn't trip anybody. Aiden Hutchinson tripped them. And they flagged the wrong guy. If they just don't call it, it's 2nd and 4, you're going to ice the game out. Or it's an automatic first down on the Lions, and you ice the game immediately. The real question is, can the Lions beat the Cowboys without almost being gifted a game from the officials? Cowboys mailbag, 2 ways to get on the show. #Cowboys or Super Chat like Crispy Bacon did. And more Cowboys rumors, including the latest on Dalvin Cook, his release, and why I actually don't want him on my roster. All coming up on today's live show. There was some surprising Cowboys news earlier today. Now, we did break this down in depth on the channel. It's available already on demand if you haven't already watched it. But we are going to recap it since, it's fairly significant news with 2 names you should all know. La'el Collins and Damien Wilson working out for the Cowboys as practice squad options. Ian Rappaport was the one who broke this news, tweeting out this morning, Collins arriving to work out with the Cowboys. And the parts that matter here a lot to me are that second sentence. Assuming he passes the physical, Dallas could sign the practice squad to work his way into football shape. We'll wait and see if and when this signing happens. Collins he's been not ready to go yet. He was cut by the Bengals before the year began after suffering the same injury that Terrence Steele suffered. Same one. Now, he's taken visits. No one signed him yet. I think in October when he took his first batch, the medical and shape results didn't come back particularly well. Those are critical parts of the visit today to see how he stands. Did take one with Buffalo about a week ago, which I do think is impactful timing. Kind of took his little New York trip, now back home, so to speak, in Dallas. So would you sign him? It is the pin poll on today's video. Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me in the comment section. Now, it's important to remember for this part, practice squad. It's not active roster. And you can wind back the film to September when we first talked about it and every time since then. And this has always been whenever I say, I don't want that free agent because I don't think he's very good, there's always one but involved. There's no such thing as a bad practice squad signing. Doesn't exist. Worst case is they just don't play for you. And the guy you're going to cut on the practice squad isn't going to play for you either, so who cares? You could sign La'el Collins and cut Adam Pankey. No one knows who Adam Pankey is because why would you? So it's fine. Practice squad, no problem. I'm down. I With that said, I need to make sure he's ready to go. The injury that Collins suffered, in addition to the hip injury he's had issues in the past with, it was a bad one. It was the same one Steele suffered. That's why Steele's recovery has been so impressive. That he's back. He was back playing football before Collins could even pass the physical, which is kind of crazy to think about. Clearly, Collins has not been ready yet. And there was a lot of, I also do our Bengals channel, for those of you that do not know. There was a lot of confusion of like, why'd they cut Collins? And other Bengals media members who know me, who also know I do the Cowboys, are like, why'd they cut him? I'm like, it means he's not healthy. And it means he's not close to being able to play. Collins' camp had pushed like, oh, he needs a month. Well, now we're in the next calendar year. He had a long way to go. It's fine. That's how it works. But you show interest to check your boxes off, etc. The visits Collins has taken here: the Jets and Giants in October, the Bills in December, and the Cowboys now in January. All significant statuses. And I think what's noteworthy here is the Jets and Giants, two of the most injury-decimated teams in football. On the offense line, they are terrible. They've lost so many guys. They've been so bad. So it wasn't a surprise they worked him out. They wanted to see if he could help them right now. They did not sign him. That answer tells me no. They didn't think he could help them. Bills and Dallas do it now, where they have starters in place on the offensive line. Curious if he could be a break in case of emergency option on that front. That's a big deal. We'll spend some more time on Collins and Damien Wilson, but first, a quick word from today's sponsor. That is Prize Picks. They are the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America, and it's simple and easy to play. You pick 2 or more, up to 6, player stat projections, more than, less than, on those stat projections, and I like to do the flex play. I just got to get 2 out of 3 right. Here are my picks this week, 9 for 13 in the last 13 weeks. Dak Prescott more than passing yards. That Commanders pass defense is terrible. Rachaad White more than rushing yards. The Panthers run defense is not nearly as impactful as their pass defense. Kenneth Walker more than rushing yards as well against a Cardinals defense that's not very good against the run either. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Now, Collins in 2022, had kind of become a bit of a penalty boy. He had quite a few of them. I think it was 8 or 9 was what he had in almost a full season. A little high on the sacks, a little high on the hits, a little high on the hurries, not great numbers. Not nearly as good as what Steele was before his injury, but also maybe a little bit better than what Steele's been since his own recovery from that injury. What's noteworthy here is you have Tyler Smith banged up right now with that plantar fascia issue, and Collins has played left guard in the past. Now, the Cowboys didn't think Collins could play left guard anymore. Now, maybe because of some desperation stuff, they're open to changing their mind on that front. I think the real thing here is, hey, we don't have anybody that is viable in free agency. If Collins is healthy, maybe he could be, whether it's lineman 6, 7, or even 13, there actually is value in that. So grade the Cowboys' offensive line so far this year. A, B, C, D, or F. Sound off for me in the comment section right now. I think it is not a very good grade at all. I think it's on the low side. Now, Collins has not given up a sack in his time at left guard, although he is very high on the hits and hurries. Remember that sacks are oftentimes a quarterback stat. And the Cowboys had 2 very good quarterbacks when healthy in Romo and Dak that were good about avoiding sacks. They did a pretty good job of those things. In particular, Dak has been very good at it over the course of his career. Romo was great about making that one guy miss that spin move, right? Remember the spin move? Oh, it was awesome. The run grade was not nearly as good. And this, again, if you believe PFF's numbers, but I would agree with from what I've seen too. There's a few great pancake clips out there. The down stuff wasn't nearly as consistent, but to be fair, he was also a young player. His breakout came at right tackle, just to be clear on that. The medical, again, is a key factor in this whole conversation. The torn ligament in his toe in 2016 caused him to miss time. Hip surgery back in 2020, and that's the one that is a factor in why Dallas cut him. There's still some, I'll go with debates disagreements from the various camps of what happened here. Did La'el Collins show up out of shape to camp, and that's why his hip got hurt? Or was the hip bothering him, and that's why he showed up out of shape to camp? There's some disagreements on that front. Had a preseason back injury in 2022, shelved him for a little bit, then tore 3 ligaments in his knee. It was the same injury Steele suffered, which makes me worried about the return to performance for Collins, right? Same injury. Terrence Steele's back playing, but he's not back to what he was last year. You would think more time is needed. Does that extra rehab time mean Collins is going to hit the performance level faster? I don't know about that one. The implication of the Rapport tweet, by the way, saying that he's not ready to play and needs to get into game shape kind of does worry me a little bit. But again, it's practice squad. My expectation of impact is low. I'm not expecting Collins to come in and fix the offensive line that is not doing a good job of pass protection and is not doing a great job of run blocking. That is not my expectation. I don't think it should be anyone's expectation. But if you could, but they're trying to find depth. Are they falling into the "we like our guys" mantra again? Sure, they are. But I always appreciate it when they're working out players. I think it's better to be a bit more proactive than reactive in that stand front. So I'll give them credit for looking into options. And I'll also say this again: a January edition with expectations, impacts, cost, whatever, is very different than a September, edition. It changes things from a pretty significant standpoint at that front. So again, expectation is low. We'll see what happens. What did surprise me, even more so, was Damien Wilson is visiting. Now you guys know we've done the Rashaan Evans debate a lot of like, they should be starting him, and he got cut for a reason. I think I'd rather have Evans than Damien Wilson. And that's based more on what I saw last year. Evans was better than Damien Wilson was. Wilson got cut by the Panthers in March, and it has been just radio silent on his front. I'm very surprised he got a workout and a visit, because he wasn't that good last time we saw him. So let's say hypothetically, you can only pick one of these guys to sign. Who is it? LC for La'el Collins, DW for Damien Wilson. You can only sign one. My answer is LC. What's yours? Wilson's, the tackle numbers were good back in 2021, but he got cooked in coverage a lot and a lot of yardage. So it's one of those like, 7-yard catch allowed, and then Damien Wilson makes a tackle, but it's a gain of 8 or 9. It's a tackle number, but the coverage numbers weren't very good on that front. It was kind of a part-time player for the Chiefs, started, but wasn't a great high-end impact piece. For a while, his best thing was, he's a good linebacker 3 or 4, which, to be fair, you don't have in Dallas. They got Damone Clark and Marquise Bell. Now, I will say, they dialed back Damone Clark's snaps against the Lions. They pulled back on him. They only played 50. He'd been near 100% on all those games. They pulled back on him. They went full on leaning into the safety stuff, which it worked against Detroit because Tank Lawrence played so damn well. I think, by the way, that Jordan Lewis's run defense has been a real boon for them in terms of just stopping the run and making some big time splashes. Plus, Donovan Wilson has ramped up his play the past 2 weeks in particular. So I'd love to find some linebacker depth. Someone asked me when they cut Evans, who's available? I said, nobody. They're all bad. And Dallas' solution was, we're going to work out Damien Wilson. Okay. That's something for me, man. All right. Back to the pin poll of today's video. Would you sign La'el Collins? Y for yes, N for no. Again, it is a practice squad move, so I am fully on board with that one. I see no real practice squad in general. There's no real downside, assuming you don't force a bad practice squad player to play a massive role for you, which at that point I think would be a coaching issue. It'd be bad if you're we're going to put La'el Collins at center, which he's never done before. That's the extreme example. Obviously, it doesn't make any sense at all, but it's just how it goes. Practice squad signing, Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me in the comments section. Now, we will also do a mailbag here on today's show. Action Jackson, Marcus Arnold, Abja Pawar. We will get to your supers as part of the mailbag. It's more fun when they're that style. Then I promise you, there's already one super chat on Dalvin Cook, so we'll talk about during the mailbag. We'll go in depth on Dalvin Cook in the mailbag as well. If you want to go to the advanced stats graphic as part of the mailbag, feel free. Because I have thoughts on Dalvin Cook. It feels like it's suddenly me and John owning versus everybody else on Dalvin Cook out there on Cowboys media. And I think Matt Owens on my side too. It's a very small grouping because everyone just had the immediate answer, and it just was either this is going to save the team or this is a bad idea. It was very, very extreme answers, which is always entertaining as far as I'm concerned. So get your questions in, #Cowboys or Super Chat to get on the show. We have a super thanks and kind of a lengthy one to begin today's show from Xavier Worthy's burner. I'll condense this down so I'm not reading off text for a minute. It says we get conservative on defense, get hot, force turnover, sacks, but we only, then when the offense gets up early, then we get more aggressive. I know it makes sense on paper, but if we're always going to get worked up and down the field, we should be more aggressive. I know Hill is going to get rattled if you knock him on his ass. I do miss Overshown. Can't wait to see what he does next year. Maybe we draft Jalen Ford. We're going to the Texas linebackers. Personally, Clark has not cut it. Bell is good, but can't be a full-time linebacker. He's too small. My mindset for this defense is what you saw against the Lions. This came before the Lions game. Gash or be gashed. You're going to face great offenses. They're going to get you for some plays. You got to make some of your own. Splash plays, TFL sacks, takeaways. They did that against Detroit. Marcus Arnold. I have complete faith in the team in the postseason. However, I feel every issue we've had leads back to one major fact. We've gotten little to no impact from this year's draft class. Complete whiffing on a draft can have devastating effects. You're right. The hope is that long-term, it ends up helping you. Your best players from this draft class, like the guy who's played some of the most snaps for you is Deuce Vaughn. That's a terrible thing, by the way, to be clear. Your best players have been undrafted free agents, which is great, but also bad. So not including your UDFA class, grade the Cowboys draft class this season. A, B, C, D, or F. Sound off for me in the comment section right now. Tony D just says, thanks, in the classic Canadian kindness super thanks. I appreciate that, my friend. If you're wondering, what the hell are these super thanks? I'm watching the live show. I don't see these in the queue. You're right. Super Thanks is a feature on YouTube, allows you to donate outside of the live videos. Click the thanks icon. You can edit your message, send in whatever amount you want. Just like we do for Super Chats. If you send in a Super Thanks, we will show you some love on the show. Hunter M, 2 things. This came in after the game. Not talking about McCarthy calling the timeout on the 2-point attempt. I think we mentioned it in the moment and outside of the cut, but yes, you can't call a timeout there. You needed that. You needed that timeout. Horrible job by McCarthy there. Also, second, in your opinion, I think adding peewee punishment practices for penalties committed in the game like laps or up downs would help. But the team will stop making boneheaded mistakes. Love the show. No more penalty, boys. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. Frankly, I just think it's from your head coach top down. I don't know what the solution is. I don't think it would help, but try it. I don't think Mike would do it. He's too much of a player's coach, but I don't know. It shouldn't be such an issue. It should not be. Logical LB, I would rather get the 5 than the 2 and play the Bucs instead of the Seahawks. Rest your starters. So again, we're doing the 2-seed debate. Now, this came in before Seattle lost, so it might be like the Rams. Let's just say the Rams, because I think the Rams are better than the Bucs are and the Packers are too. Here's why I say no to this. Can you make the argument to rather play on the road at Tampa than home against the Rams? Sure. But then what happens? Are you that scared of losing your first-round game? You're taking such a narrow-minded approach. You have to think big picture here, guys. I don't want to just go one and done. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make a real run. And my best chance to make a real run is to get the 2 seed. I'll play the Rams. I'll play the Packers. I'll play Minnesota. I'll play Seattle, whatever. They can come to my house, and I'll beat them. And then I'll see where the chips fall and who I play. Because I would much rather have to play Detroit or Philadelphia or whoever at home in the divisional round than go play San Francisco. because that's a very real outcome. I want to avoid San Francisco for as long as humanly possible. This is how I accomplish that. By getting the 2 seed, I don't have to play them on the road until the conference championship game. That is the route I would rather go. So do you want the 2 seed? Y for yes, N for no. It is the pinned comment on today's video. The ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. Action Jackson. Whatever happened with Martavis Bryant? He was the thing that I tried to tell people he was probably going to be, as just a practice squad guy. It's a big name, and the big name, I get it. Gets everybody excited, right? It's a name you heard of. You can't wait to see it. Oh, can he help you? Well, no, not really. I don't think we see him this year. I think it was bring him in, see how he does, and then you can keep him as a futures deal next year too, and see how the preseason goes. So, again, I don't think it was never supposed to be this super impact. It was always more likely it was going to be a, Antonio Callaway-esque signing. And so far, that's what it's been. Marcus Arnold, my God, can we please sign Dalvin Cook? Now, after the Tuesday live show, we as part of it, we did the whole breakdown of Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, guys, is not what you remember. The signs of regression had been there previously. I've got some advanced stats for you. Because let's be honest, you're not watching Jets games. Why would you be? Wouldn't expect you to. He sucks. I'm sorry. And the numbers here out of the 72 qualifying runners, except for yards of contact, that one's PFF. He's dead last in EPA per rush. He's third to last in success rate. He's third to last in explosive play rate. He's actually pretty decent about not getting tackled for a loss, 22 out of 72. He's second to last in yards created, which is a stat that, let me make sure I read this off correctly. It's adjusting yards per carry based on the situation and the defensive pre-snap look. So is the box loaded, right? Yards after contact, second to last. He's bad. I'm sorry. He's bad. The rushing yards over expected. This is regression. This is what we talked about leading into this year. 0.81, he was awesome in 2020. Dips in 2021. Still good though in 2021. Oh, negative in 2022. He does not qualify right now on next gen stats. That's what this is from. Unfortunately, when he did qualify, guess where he was? At the bottom. He's not that guy anymore. I'm sorry. Now, today's show is made possible by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. For example, I don't know, maybe the Cowboys playoff game in the wild card round, and fingers crossed for divisional round and more. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater, and events near you. Killer last-minute deals, all in prices. Views from your seat and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can see your view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can take the phone and move it left and right and up and down. And if you haven't been to Jerry World before, you'll know what your seat view actually looks like. They've got zone deals, flash deals. I like the zone deals, by the way. The flash deals ongoing right now for the wild card. You can get 10% off. Zone deals. You pick the section, and Game Time pick the seats for you for an average of 18% savings. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHAT, or Cowboys Chat, promo code Cowboys Chat for 20% off. That's promo code COWBOYSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but go create your account for free. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. Stephen Goltz, I think it's how it's pronounced, Stephen. Fun question. Would you put referees in the same category as kickers? Might be the greatest super thanks in company history. Kickers are not people. Brandon Aubrey's an alien. Referees are subhuman. How about that? I'll go even more negative. First, I'm going to go my rants here. I tried to warn the greater public for years about the perils of NFL officiating, and nobody gave a damn. Nobody cared. Nobody listened like, oh, you're just mad because the Cowboys are losing. I'm like, the refs are making bad decisions and bad calls and impacting games. Nobody cared when it was the Cowboys. Then the Lions get screwed one time and the world falls apart. Nobody wanted to listen to me. When they came for the Cowboys, they ignored. And then they came for the Lions and it was too late. By the way, that same crew is getting a nationally televised game this week. The NFL does not give a shit because we keep watching. I will continue to at the NFL officiating account until I get blocked by them. So our refs people, 1 for yes, 2 for no. Sound off for me in the comment section right now. Abshir Pawar, let Dak deal. It seems that the O-line, running game, and play calling has done Dak dirty in big games. Steele and Smith gave up big sacks. We ran the numbers leading into last week's game of the complete inability to run the football. Like the one of my keys to victory was, hey, or it was a matchup, whatever it was. Like, don't try to run the ball too much. Like, in every loss you've had, you've averaged under 4 yards a carry. So don't try to establish it. What did Big Mike do? We're going to run the ball against a top 5 run defense. And then when we should run the ball, F it, go balls. I just don't get it. I really don't. It's just, again, like my mindset is like, I'm fairly smart football-wise, I think. But I'm also in media. What's the line? Those that can do. Those that can't do, teach. And those that can't teach are in media. Right? I'm not a coach. I'm not a player. How can I figure this shit out and they can't? Like, that's my issue, right? How can we all do it in the comments and you go, why are you running the football? I don't get it. The O-line is not playing well. The run scheme's not good. Like, I don't get it. So stop. Why is the O-line bad at run blocking? Terrence Steele's regressed. I don't think Biotish is doing a great job either, relatively speaking. And I think this run scheme doesn't fit them. It's a weird hodgepodge of various things. I call it tight zone. It's not inside zone. It's not wide zone. It's not really gap. It's not really power. It's not really duo, which is what you should be running because you do good stuff when you're doing duo. And it's the meta for run games these days that actually work outside the Shanahan scheme. You had some success. You briefly did with some of those Shanahan run concepts. Wasn't working. And on top of this, and this is a good, I'll remember to make this point on our preview later this week, your run design doesn't look like your pass design pre-snap. When they're throwing the ball, there's a lot of pre-snap motion. How much pre-snap motion is there on run plays? And their best run plays this year have been involving pre-snap motion. I mean, I was watching the college football playoff games, right? The Michigan and Washington offenses, did you see how much motion there was? I mean, they're shuffling guys every snap. I think that's what you have to do more of that. You have to. Now, we have you covered on all the latest Cowboys news and rumors and updates and live watch parties. Hit that sub button for more videos, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Ryan Nelson, Tom, Jalen Polk, let's make it happen. There's like a dozen receivers I like a lot this year in this year's class. There's some speedy guys, some big guys. Any insert Washington wide receiver here, I'm in. You're not going to get a Dunze. He's going to be gone top 15, I think, by the way. I keep mocking offensive tackles to the Cowboys because I think there's going to be a good one there for you, but I would not be mad at another wide receiver. Like, I think that's a good idea. Chris B., we're going to win on Sunday, but I swear to God, if Mike goes cautious and we somehow lose, he should be fired before the playoffs, no joke. I actually don't disagree. If you can't beat the Commanders on the road with the NFC Championship game, in line, who here is going to believe in this Cowboys team? I'm not. I think you might lose them in the division or in the wild card round again. Like, so I actually don't disagree, and I would also be mad because it's, you know what this Commanders defense is the NFL's worst at? Stopping the passing game. Go air it out for 3 quarters. Sit Dak, sit everybody, and just run the ball out in the fourth quarter. That's what you should do. Spencer, any Texas players you'd take? I mean, yeah, depends on where, right? You know, Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell are fun receivers, assuming those guys go pro. They got some good defensive pieces, maybe not the secondary, relatively speaking, early. I know Ford's a popular piece. I liked T'Vondre Sweat. I can't take another nose guard, although you made Mazi cut weight because you're idiots. I like Byron Murphy a lot, actually. I think that might be a better fit for Dallas with what they need. You don't need a tight end, but I like JT Sanders too. So name a player you want to take in the 2024 NFL Draft. Sound off for me in the comment section right now. Chris B. Also, I think the 2 seed puts big pressure on Mike McCarthy. I think there's a lot of pressure. I think that's a fair point that you're going to be favored in all your games. And if you don't make it to the conference championship game as a 2 seed, it's a disappointment. Which I think we're already at that mindset anyway. But I would be inclined to agree. Chris B. Thoughts on Bugs from the Lions who got cut? Is he good? I think he's better than Carl Davis. That is a low bar to clear. I don't think he's a superstar player. I would bet he just goes back to the Lions practice squad if he clears waivers. I don't think you're going to be able to claim him off of waivers. And I just don't know who you cut. Like who are injury you're inventing. Like the math ain't mathing for me there. So, but yeah, if I can get into the practice squad, I'm all in on Isaiah Bugs. Like of all these guys we've discussed the past 2.5 days of free agents, like I think Bugs might be your best bet over Frank Clark, over Dalvin Cook, over Lyle Collins. I think he could actually help you and would give you some more insurance with Hankins still coming back from that ankle injury. All right, score prediction time of the Cowboys against the Commanders. I think it's going to be a blowout. I'm going to be a little bit mad if they don't blow them out. This Commanders team has nothing to play for. They're a bad defense. They're a mediocre offense. In theory, tomorrow we'll find out who's going to be their starting quarterback. I hope it's Sam Howell. He's a chaos merchant, and Dallas will take advantage of it. Brissett's better, but there's almost no benefit in playing Brissett at this stage. I see 69-3. Very fun. JBoot83, $5 super chat. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. Always kind. Always appreciate all the super chats here. Back to score predictions. Gerald, by the way, Sue did not get picked up. Visited with the Miami Dolphins, and then that was it. Very quiet around him. Sometimes the NFL does know more than us. And I think that's especially true with the players who are available late in the season. And typically they know something that maybe we don't. Crispy Bacon, $10. I was ready to fire Mike mid-Lions game when he tried to establish the run when it wasn't working. I wanted Jimmy Johnathan here because he couldn't have been worse than Mike. You know what's funny? And because of when he was coaching versus how it is now, I think Jimmy Johnson would try to establish the run as well. I really do. Seriously, I do. That's how they won. That's why Jerry's always wanted to run the football. That's how they won their Super Bowls. They had the best offensive line in the game, a Hall of Fame back, the greatest ever, an explosive receiver, and Michael Irvin Troikman was a perfect, I don't even mean like game manager in a negative sense, but they just everything about that offense was great. They just overpowered you, and they ran the ball so well. I genuinely think Jimmy Johnson would try to establish the run. I do. He hasn't coached this century. I love him. I'm glad he's finally in the in the Cowboys ring. It was long overdue, but it would be funny as hell though if they fired Mike mid-game and hired Jimmy Johnson. I'd do it for the memes alone. Could you imagine? Yeah, Jerry Jones went rogue as fuck, and he fired Mike McCarthy mid-game and said, "Jimmy, you're my head coach." Oh, it'd be glorious. It'd be glorious. All right, let's get set up here for the next portion. I got one more super chat here. Let's go to that one first. Then we'll go to the rest of the show. We'll stay live as more supers come in, by the way, after this final cup. Chris B, don't want to jinx it, but NFC Championship game is real. You have the possibility of it. Just get there. You're if you get the 2 seed, you avoid the team that I don't think you can beat. I don't think you can beat San Francisco. So I'm going to avoid them as long as possible. And maybe you get lucky. Maybe someone takes them out for you. Byron Joe David, the Louisiana connection between Dak and CD is indisputable. Some guys, quarterbacks and receivers, they just have the chemistry. Like they click. It's not that different than a relationship to a certain extent. Like some people, man, you just vibe with them. Friendship, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, like you vibe with them, right? Dak and Lamb have it. The chemistry is there. They're on the same page. You know, late career Dez and Dak didn't have it. Early career Dez and Romo had it. Not everybody does. Some receivers are just great, you know, and some receivers aren't great with different quarterbacks. Clearly, the Dak and Lamb connection is a very, very special one. Coming up on today's show, a lot to get into. Some Cowboys injury news. Tyler Smith and Johnathan Hankins. We'll have the Mazi Smith weight conversation since seems like he's been told to drop weight by the Cowboys. Free agent rumors, including but not limited to Dalvin Cook, which I know is what you're really here for, so make sure you watch the entirety of today's video. Injury news to begin. Johnathan Hankins update for you guys. He has missed the past 3 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Here's what Mike McCarthy said on Hankins' status. Quote, Johnathan had a good workout on Monday. We'll see how he feels tomorrow. And our goal is to work him in on Wednesday, is our hope. I'm unconvinced you're going to have him on Wednesday, but if he's limited on Wednesday, he's playing. My goal is get him something on Thursday. You're not going to have any pads this week, by the way, but if he practices Thursday, he's going to play. Even probably in a limited sense, I think he'll go. Remember, Carl Davis out of practice squad call-ups. Meanwhile, Tyler Smith fully tore his plantar fascia, which, as it turns out, is actually better than a partial tear. There's less pain, easier to manage, and you can play through it. Now, Dallas is keeping the door open that he'll play. I'm not sure I buy that one all the way. Here's what Big Mike said. He's sore. We'll find out more in practice on Wednesday. He has a chance, is how it's been described. I would not play Tyler Smith this week. I'm going to give him the extra week to get healthy. You should be able to beat the Commanders without him. You should be able to still be able to air it out and take advantage of a crappy Commanders defense in this one. I would instead give TJ Bass some more playing time. And Bass was the guy who subbed in at left guard when Smith went down. You know what? You know why I'm okay with this? Did we notice Bass getting cooked against the Lions? Not saying he was perfect. I don't think he's not nearly the run blocker that Tyler Smith is. But his numbers aren't that bad. It's a smaller sample size, not perfect numbers overall, but played left guard, played left side at Oregon. I'd put him in there. Not because I think he's better than Smith, but I want Smith as close as healthy as possible for my postseason run. So I'm going to sit Smith this week. What would you guys do? Would you play Tyler Smith? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me in the comments section. Let's discuss Mazi Smith here. And this was first mentioned by my guy Mike White, a.k.a. Not to Be Trite on Twitter. Burgers and Blitzes, all the same. I think it was, I don't remember if it was Broadus or No C who had mentioned it on the Cowboys site that the Cowboys had Mazi Smith cut weight this season and allegedly down around or below 300 pounds. He has played more 3 technique than 1 technique this season. This is so stupid. Like this is, and they've done this stuff before with their first round picks. Like, we're going to make Byron Jones a safety. He was a cornerback the entire time, you fools. They had Jalen Ramsey as a safety and not a corner, by the way. They made Tyrone Crawford add weight, drop weight, add rate, drop rate every offseason to fill a random need. Mazi Smith has not played very well this year. I think we would all agree with that. He has been a disappointment relative to even just like needs time to develop, whatever. He hasn't lived the expectations. But having him lose weight doesn't make any sense. You drafted a nose guard because you wanted to help stop the run, right? You drafted a fatty to make him a skinny. What are we doing out there? It's a bad job by the organization. It's frankly nonsense. And it's embarrassing. And you've taken a guy at Michigan who was a good run stopper. That was his best trait. He was a nose guard. We're like, he's a nose guard. Everyone's like, nose guard, nose guard. And you haven't played him there. Let's compare Mazi Smith and Johnathan Hankins' roles here. Now, I do wonder if part of this is They wanted to be able to play Mazi and Hankins together some, but also, here's the snap count breakdown. Total, 288 for 337. Defensive end is really kind of more of the 5 technique, kind of a 3-4 defensive end in some of those bear fronts that they've done. 36 snaps there for Mazi, 16 for Hankins. Similar defensive tackle, 3 technique reps. Meanwhile, nose guard, significant difference. 15.6% snaps at nose guard for Mazi Smith, 34.7% snap rate for Hankins. For comparison here, Dexter Lawrence is at like 79% nose guard snaps. They've misaligned Hankins some too this year. So fatties only, the mantra, which some players took to literally, Dontari Poe, we are now changing. It's also now, let Mazi eat food. Get that, he is a nose guard. You're trying to make him into something doesn't make any sense. So it's this year, okay, it's a lost year because you messed up. Next off season, that man better be in the 320s or higher because he's a nose guard. Use him the way God meant for him to be used. Not trying to make him lose weight. It's fatties only, not skinny beach season for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time is the number one leader when it comes to last-minute tickets and more. Go to gametime.com, or .co, and use promo code CowboysChat for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app at gametime.co. Create your account, $20 off your first purchase when you use promo code CowboysChat. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. We appreciate Game Time sponsoring us here at the Cowboys Report. If you're trying to buy tickets for the playoffs, you got to use Game Time. We appreciate Game Time here on the Cowboys Report. All right, let's move to Dalvin Cook here. And I know this is what you all wanted to talk about, so we'll do it. The Jets cut Dalvin Cook today. It was a mutual move, is what this was described as. Now, Cook has had 67 carries this year. And despite the spin from his camp, this is not because, everything changed when Aaron Rodgers went down. No, Dalvin Cook was not playing that well. And I get that the Cowboys' run game is bad. I fully understand that the run game has issues. And we're disappointed in Tony Pollard, all of that stuff. However, Dalvin Cook is not a solution to anything. He's not. He's not playing well right now. And the signs of regression were already there. The guy you think you're getting is not the Dalvin Cook you remember. The numbers this year do not look very good. They really don't. And the regression was right there, the advanced numbers. So we'll break it down here. First, just the raw numbers. Dalvin Cook, 67 carries, 214 yards, 3.2 yards per carry. Really bad. The numbers that try to best identify just the individual impact from the running back here, the advanced stats, are even worse. Now, there's 72 qualifying players for the first 5 stats. Yards after contact basically takes out the quarterbacks. The first numbers include some quarterback scrambles. So it's 58. First 3 numbers are from Summer Sports. Last 2 are from PFF. Dalvin Cook is dead last in EPA per carry. He's third to last in success rate. He's third to last in explosive play rate. Does a good job about not losing yards behind line of scrimmage, 22 out of 72 in TFLs. Second to last in yards created. That's adjusted yards per carry based on situation, like down and distance stuff and game script and defensive pre-snap look. Second to last in yards after contact. Every metric he's bad in. And this is not a new thing. The signs of decline were already there from Dalvin Cook if you dug a little bit deeper. Rushing yards over, it's a next-gen stats number. It's basically given, player tracking, etc. How do things look in terms of where things sit? Like how many yards are you supposed to get versus what you weren't going to get? Well, Dalvin Cook, minus 0.16 last year, 0.34 in 2021, and 0.81 in 2020. Regression. He went downwards. He went in the wrong direction for the Minnesota Vikings, and that is now continued in New York. By the way, the numbers, he doesn't qualify for the Vikings this season, or for the Jets this year. When he did qualify before he stopped playing, he was near the bottom. Would you add Dalvin Cook? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Sound off for me in the comment section right now. 1 for yes, 0 for no. I am out. He is Dalvin cooked right now. And you might say, oh, the Jets' offensive line is bad. Yes, you're right. And I would say it might all be out of his control if Dalvin Cook wasn't averaging significantly worse results than Breece Hall, coming off a torn ACL, mind you. 3.2 yards per carry versus 4.4. Look, the practice squad exemption applies. That's fine. I have my doubts as to whether or not Cook would actually accept that because his camp has continuously leaked that he's this great football player and all this stuff, and I don't know if he'd do it. I don't know if he would. I would have some interest there, sure, but Dalvin Cook isn't fixing anything for you. Your run blocking is still a massive issue right now. I mean, Tony Pollard had 3 yards per carry before contact last week. That's not going to do anything. Dalvin Cook ain't fixing you. He's not the guy you remember. Trust me, I watch more than just Cowboys games for my job here at Chat Sports. I watch Jets games too. He's cooked. All right, some other free agent stuff we'll get into here momentarily. Frank Clark cleared waivers after being cut. I think there's some confusion here. National outlets keep saying, outside linebacker, Frank Clark's available. And then people go, he's a linebacker. No, he's an edge rusher. He's not going to help you at off-ball linebacker, which is what you need. He made no impact for the Seahawks or the Broncos this season. Not a one. No impact whatsoever. He didn't have any sacks. He was making no plays whatsoever. So why am I adding a non-impact edge rusher when I already have impact ones? Seriously, 0 sacks this year. He had 5 in 2022, 4.5 in 2021. He's not the same guy anymore. He has regressed too much. Tyrus Sweet is a core special teamer. That's why he's on this team. Frank Clark ain't playing special teams for you. He's just not. So what's the benefits of all of this? There really isn't one to have. So I'm out on Frank Clark. Would you sign him? S for sign, P for pass. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section right now. It's freedom of democracy, of voting, whatever, speech, etc. You can vote in the comments section. I have no interest here. You don't need another pass rusher. I have those guys. Again, the whole practice squad caveat, which just used on La'el Collins, can apply, I guess, sure, but what's the purpose, you know? When the Cowboys sign people like La'el Collins, we have you guys covered. Hit the sub button for more free Dallas Cowboys YouTube videos right now. All right, Isaiah Buggs, one more free agent. I'm in a lot of free agency conversation the past 24-ish hours here. He was released by the Lions. Now, they're juggling players. They make their way to return from IR, but he was actually decent at defensive tackle. He was. And I do think Buggs would be an upgrade over Carl Davis, which is not saying anything really. He's not going to change, it's the low bar, right? So name a player who you want to sign. Sound off for me in the comment section right now. Buggs. The numbers don't pop up the screen. They're not supposed to. He's more of a run-stopping defensive tackle, which you need right now. You need more of those guys that not having cut weight from like Mazi Smith. I think there's value there. There's twofold issue here. Number one, I think he's better than Carl Davis. I don't know who you cut off your active roster to make room for him and claim him. So then it's, how do you get him to the practice squad? And if you're Buggs, would you sign a practice squad spot in Dallas and move and learn a new defense and all that stuff instead of just staying on the Lions? In most years, the Lions are bad and you might do it. Now, they're actually pretty good. So I think the most likely outcome here is that Buggs just sticks around with the Detroit Lions. All right, Super Chats here. And then, by the way, as in the middle of this filming, La'el Collins has signed to the Dallas Cowboys practice squad. So, Chris, go back to the intro stuff here and change the weigh-in to grade the La'el Collins signing. I'll do this here. Actually, I'll do it myself. This will be faster. Grade the La'el Collins signing as that weigh-in. I'm going to change the pin poll, by the way, here too. And then second weigh-in is, will La'el Collins play for the Cowboys this year? No, I'm just doing it in the script. You change everything else. And please tell the Slack that we have this covered. So, say no help needed. Because we'll be good to go on that front. I'm changing the pin poll right now to grade the signing of La'el Collins. But I'll say that we have it. Like, don't just say no help needed. Like, say we've got it covered. Let's see. Grade the La'el Collins signing. A/A, B, C. I'll put D or F together. Since again, there's no such thing as a bad signing. We'll do prize picks for this sponsor. And then change the big L3 breaking news one. And update the player card notes for me too, to make them all reflective there. So grade the La'el. Let's go to that weigh-in as soon as you have it too on screen. And get an L3 breaking up there too. La'el Collins, officially a member of the Dallas Cowboys. Again, practice squad signing. What's interesting is that Michael Gelkin's referring to him as a right tackle, left guard, which I find interesting. Gelkin doesn't miss very often there. Depth to the offensive line here. Grade the La'el Collins signing. A, B, C, D, or F in the comment section. I got a 26% say A. Now 25% say A. 47% say B. 25% say 27% now say C. 5% say D or F. I'm a little surprised that D or F are that high. Brett is right, by the way. I think A and B is probably your best. But again, it's practice squad. There's never been a bad practice squad signing in history. You could sign me to the practice squad, and I wouldn't say it was a bad signing. I really wouldn't. I think it'd still be a fine one. It doesn't matter, you know? So grade the La'el Collins signing. A, B, C, D, or F in the comments section. It's also the pin poll, so you can vote on that as well. 20% say A, 43% say B, 25, and now 4. It keeps changing. Let's go, and there are more votes coming in there. Again, La'el Collins signing with the Dallas Cowboys practice squad here. He worked out earlier today. The medical all checked out, and after being unsigned for the entire 2023 portion of the NFL regular season, he is now available and joins the Dallas Cowboys practice squad here. I'm fine with it on the practice squad. Again, it's practice squad. My expectations are low. I do not anticipate Collins suddenly coming in and being the solution to all of your offensive line issues. That's probably asking for way too much out of a guy that still might need some time to get fully into game shape. But, you know, adding potentially competent offensive line depth is basically impossible in January. So that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned. So grade it for me in the comment section. A, B, C, D, or F. I will give shout-outs here as well. Bruce Hammond says B. Jose L. says A. AB says C. Clayton Lockhart says C. Rashad Lee says B. I think it's got to be at least a B for me. There's not a lot of downside here, you know. Alicia Melendez says A. The downside is it doesn't work out. You cut him 2 weeks from now. That's all you have to do. It's fairly straightforward, all things considered from that perspective. We'll get to some of those super chats here, then we'll get into our news cut on the Lyle Collins signing as well. We kind of didn't get to Will Marshall, so I do want to get to that one as well. Ravens gave the blueprint to beat San Francisco. Physicality. They hit them. We hit them in the playoffs. We got ran over this season with undersized linebackers. Avoid San Francisco, please. I agree. I don't think you can beat them. I think they are a better team than you. I have no confidence in you beating them because they beat you for 3 straight times, and not all of them have been that close. So I agree. I would like to avoid the Niners, and that's why the 2 seed's so valuable. I guarantee it for at least 2 games, assuming the Cowboys win. ADC. Dalvin Cook, yes or no? My answer is no. We broke it down earlier. We'll do it again. The schedule keeps changing on these videos. Dalvin Cook is not the guy you remember from Minnesota. His numbers were already on the decline. The underlying metrics that can indicate potential fall off and regression and like more than just offensive line stuff, like those were not good for Dalvin Cook. And then they fell off a cliff. Marcus Arnold, on a similar note here, need another veteran option running back. No one is scared of our running game, but no one's scared of Dalvin Cook either. Again, I think if you want to run the football, you need a better run blocking scheme, and you need better blocking, period. Dalvin Cook is not a great scheme fit for what you're doing, and he's not like, I think Malik Davis is better right now than Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook scared nobody in New York. He averaged under 3.2 yards per carry. Very bad. Very bad. Like, I was like, you can bring him in cheaply, sure, but like, he got a lot of money from the Jets, and all the things I was worried about were even more true this year in New York. He's got 2 fumbles and like 67 carries. It's really bad. Really bad. Brian Parson. Hey, Tom, as a lifelong Cowboys fan, is it wrong to not be confident about taking care of business Sunday? The game should be over by halftime, but this type of game where Dallas shits the bed. This is your trauma speaking, and I understand it. I am validating your feelings. But you're right. This is a game where it should be over by halftime. But I feel like every game in which the Cowboys are favored, we get at least one super chat saying, this is the type of game the Cowboys shit the bed. We got to change that to be. There we go. Let me read off our coming up graphics here. Let's change the third note to he offers. Make first note to the practice squad. And get rid of O-line. And then let me know what we're doing with that. I'll give you the next note. Every game in these expected to win games, it's this is the game you're gonna shit the bed. You do it once a year, maybe twice. You already did it against the Arizona Cardinals. You knocked that one out of the way. If you can't win this game, the faith and confidence in this Cowboys team is going to be basically at 0. It's going to be startlingly low. So you should absolutely find a way to win this particular game. If they shit the bed and lose, we are all going to be in shambles as we should be. There they go. So third note just changed to has played left guard and right tackle for Dallas in the past. Yeah, probably easiest. Then we'll get to the super chat here momentarily, but appreciate that one, Brian. Again, the news here of the day, Lyle Collins has signed with the Dallas Cowboys practice squad. We'll see if and when he's able to contribute to this team. Marcus Arnold, just because Cook is not doing well in New York doesn't mean he wouldn't do well here. What we're doing isn't working. Bring him in and see what happens. But who am I cutting to make room for him? Like practice squad, sure. But if Dalvin Cook wasn't working the Jets, why is he going to work here? Like, I think that let me put it to you this way. If I just showed you Dalvin Cook's numbers and took away the name Dalvin Cook, nobody would want him. Nobody. So why would we want him just because the name brand is Dalvin Cook? He's not the same guy anymore. He's just not. Abbas, if New England cuts Zeke, should we grab him? Sure. Honestly, I'd rather have him over Dalvin Cook, and I think Zeke's a better player right now than Dalvin Cook. And you guys know how I feel about Zeke. I'm out on him. I've been on him for years now. They're not going to cut him, though. Like, That's not how NFL teams do business. They're not going to say, Zeke, go play for the Cowboys. It's okay. That's not how they operate. I'd be blown away if they cut him. The Cook thing is very unique. Does not happen very often. Crispy Bacon says, Cowboys legend time, baby. Yes, it is. And Chris B says, there's Crispy Bacon, and Chris B always confuses me. Low risk, maybe decent reward, practice squad, B+. I think it's B+, somewhere in that range. Like, it's fine. Not a big deal. There's no downside. Upside is more offensive line depth. Practice squad is very different than active roster. Clearly, he's now closer, at least, to being healthy. From RB, what happened to Dowdle's usage? Didn't see him. Seemed to re-aggravate that ankle injury. Now, the Cowboys didn't put him on IR, which makes me think this is a shorter-term injury, or at least regression from him. We'll know more on Wednesday and Thursday when the practice participation reports come out. If he's back to being limited, I think that means it was a short-term absence and he'll be able to go against the Commanders, or maybe they rest him for the postseason. I think there's been moments where Dowdle's been a better runner than Tony Pollard, but got to be healthy to make all that happen. So what's going to happen next is we're going to break down the La'el Collins signing, with that move now official to the practice squad. Prize Picks, our sponsor on that one. And then we'll answer any more Super Chats that come in, including the Chris B one, which we will get to after this portion of the show. Been a busy day here on the Cowboys Report. The news of La'el Collins visiting, the live show, and then the breaking news of La'el Collins signing with the Dallas Cowboys practice squad. After months of he took visits in October, didn't sign anywhere, now Collins comes back to Dallas, to the practice squad, to be clear on that front. Collins had been cut by the Bengals before the season. He suffered a brutal, let's just reset and let's not have two practices in there in the player card. Let's go ahead and reset and we'll do it the full way with no big typo there, which is okay. Not a big deal. But again, you'll get a little reset, change it all, and get it all set up there. Again, if you're just now tuning in, Collins has signed to the Dallas Cowboys practice squad. We will break this all down here momentarily for you on the show with La'el Collins practice squad signing. I've heard nothing yet on Damien Wilson, so we will see what that status is. I was very surprised the Cowboys chose to bring in Damien Wilson for a visit. That was quite interesting to me. Elmatic7, yes, this is live. We were live before, and we were live in the middle of when the news happened, so it's been kind of a chaotic day on that front for the Dallas Cowboys. But now we're good to go with the breaking news cut. Breaking news here on the Cowboys Report. La'el Collins has signed to the Cowboys practice squad. He came in for a visit earlier today and is now joining the practice squad. The medical and physical stuff all checked out enough for Dallas. Been a tumultuous year and a half, 2 years, whatever you want to call it, for La'el Collins. He had signed the big deal in Dallas, then gets hurt, doesn't play as well, gets cut. When the Cowboys tried to find a trade partner, they could not do it. Goes to Bengals for 1 year, plays solidly enough, then ends up getting cut after he suffered a brutal knee injury late in the 2022 campaign. Wasn't close to being able to help the Bengals. They had a bunch of money by cutting him. Now returns to Dallas with his good buddy Dak Prescott. He's played left guard and right guard for Dallas in the past. Your left guard's banged up right now. Your right tackle's not playing that well. This is, to be clear, folks, a practice squad signing. So I'm not convinced that, and this should not be viewed as a Collins going to save everything. Prime La'el Collins is back. When he was a top 5 right tackle, we fixed all of our issues. That is not the expectation. I don't even think you're going to see Collins be called up, especially not for the first final regular season game. I'd be surprised if that one happened. It'd be a fun surprise, I suppose. But the signing of Collins is kind of more of a give you added offensive line depth, which is basically impossible to find in January of the regular season. And maybe it either sets you up for next year and keeping him on the roster super cheap, Or maybe in the event of injuries, you have a potentially upgrade, break the glass in case of emergency option along the offensive line. Remember, they get 3 practice squad call-ups. So hypothetically, there is a scenario in which Collins just gets promoted a few times down the stretch this year, depending on when he's fully healthy and in shape. The initial report this morning had said that could sign the practice squad while he gets into game shape. So we'll see how close Collins is. I'm sure Mike McCarthy will spill the beans on Wednesday if Jerry Jones doesn't do so beforehand. So practice squad signing of La'el Collins. Grade it for me in the comments section. A, B, C, D, or F. Sound off right now. It's the pinned comment, so if the ad comes on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. Now, what have I said? We can go back and rewind the clock to when we first discussed this back in September when he had been cut. There is no such thing as a bad practice squad signing. So at minimum, this should be no lower than a C. This is very different than signing him to be a part of your active roster right now. That's not what you're doing. The physical part was key in this visit. Figuring out where that knee was. It was a bad knee injury. And clearly, La'el Collins hasn't been ready. He wasn't ready to sign because he took visits. Collins took multiple visits. He took some in October to both New York football teams, or I should say New Jersey football teams. The Jets and Giants brought him in for visits in October. And then it was radio silent for a long period of time. There was no buzz whatsoever, which told me the medical did not check out well. And then late December, Buffalo brings him in, which went, okay, maybe the medical's in better shape right now, and maybe Collins is in better shape right now. Because the Jets and Giants were decimated by injuries, and they didn't sign him because they couldn't help him right now. Bills and Dallas actually have starting offensive linemen healthy, even with the Cowboys battling the Tyler Smith injury right now. And they still brought him in for a workout for added depth potentially along the offensive line. We'll see if he even plays, but they're trying to find O-line depth late in the year. It's almost impossible, but at least they're trying. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. If you don't know what Prize Picks is, I guess you haven't been watching our channel enough lately. Been a long-time sponsor this year, a great sponsor at the Cowboys Report. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. You're not battling thousands of players. There's no pros and sharks or sharps. Pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch your winnings roll in. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. The link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Again, that's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for that first deposit match up to $100. Now, Collins played a decent amount of snaps for the Bengals this past year. What's not shown on this is that, unfortunately, Collins had kind of turned into a bit of a penalty boy with the Bengals this past year. He'd been a little bit of a penalty boy previously in 2021, but he had 8 flags in the snaps in 2022 that kind of reared their ugly head a little bit there. The pressure numbers were a little bit concerning at that rate. They had dipped below his normal efficiency levels. Solid run blocking grades, though, at right tackle before the unfortunate knee injury. Now, what's noteworthy here is that Collins, of course, has played both right tackle and left guard in the past. Now, what was most notable to me is that Dallas didn't think Collins could play left guard anymore because they could have just put him at left guard when they cut him, right? They could have done that. And that hip injury that I think had really limited him in 2022 to a certain extent, and even 2021 coming off hip injury wasn't quite as good as he was back in 2019, had been kind of a problem from that standpoint. But again, we are in January. You have 10 players right now on your depth chart along the offensive line that are healthy, or at least on the active roster. Somebody has to go from the practice squad. I'm betting it's going to be one of them offensive linemen, but we shall see. So prediction time. Will La'el Collins play for the Dallas Cowboys this season? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off in the comments section. Now, there is the time at left guard. And I do think there is some very serious revisionist history going on with the left guard play of La'el Collins. He was a better run blocker at right tackle than he was at left guard. Now, he never allowed a sack, but he did allow a lot more pressures than what you would prefer relative to the snap count. The win rate was lower there than it was at other spots outside of his first year at right tackle. Now, part of that might have just been, hey, he's a young player. He was getting better. And there are some great pancake clips out there of La'el Collins pulling at left guard and bullying dudes. The down-to-down efficiency wasn't the same, although the highs were certainly quite intriguing. I think Tyler Smith has always been a better left guard in terms of run blocking than La'el Collins ever was. But again, he's played both. And you're kind of in January, beggars can't be choosers, right? You deal with what you can deal with, and there's no competent offensive lineman out there. Maybe a healthy La'el Collins can help you there. Now, the issue is he has not been healthy. The torn ligament in his toe in 2016, bad luck. The hip surgery in 2020, there's still debate over how that all went down. Was it Collins was out of shape and he hurt his hip, or was an injured hip why he was out of shape? Maybe we'll never know the answer to that one there. Had a back injury in 2022, and then it's kind of, blunt, but he shredded his knee in 2022 as well. The injury he suffered was 3 torn ligaments, the exact same injury as Terrence Steele. Now, Terrence Steele came back like 6 months before La'el Collins did. Very impressive. Also didn't return to performance. That's why I'm not expecting, Terrence or La'el Collins to be the prime top 5 right tackle he was in 2019 before his hip injury. Doesn't really sound like he's ready to play. Again, that's based on the initial Ian Rappaport tweet saying that, he's going to sign to get into game shape, which we'll see if that's true or not, but I would assume the info came from Collins' agency. So my expectation of impact here is low. Like any practice squad signing, I'm not expecting, they become the next, I'm not expecting Joe Flacco impact. That's the outlier, right? This would likely just be depth. But it's January. Smart teams try things. What are you going to do? I'm going to guess they cut Adam Pankey or Billy Price, who I think is not a good football player. Like, fine, just do it. Who cares? A January edition, expectation, talent level, impact, all that stuff is very different than September, especially when it is a practice squad edition. So practice squad, you will never hear me complain. We shall see what, if any, impact La'el Collins ends up making for this Cowboys team. All right, Super Chats, then we will sign off here on today's show so we can edit that, cut, and get it out. Dowdle's got the ankle injury. We'll see if he can play this week, RB. Chris B, thoughts on Blake Corum? Would you draft him? Depends on where he goes. I don't want to spend a top, 60 pick on a running back. I think that's bad usage in a not great back class overall. Can I get him the 3rd or 4th? Let's ride. I think he's a good player. Kind of a high workload already, which raises some red flags, but he's a very good runner. He doesn't bring you a ton on 3rd downs right now, although he did have the one nice catch and an easy play that he kind of stole from the Dolphins. The Cowboys also ran this year, by the way. But yeah, I would draft him, 3rd round, 4th round, no sweat. Elmatic 7. Tom, I think Cook's just depressed not playing with Aaron Rodgers. The Jets depressed me too, and I could care less about them. Then it sounds like Dalvin Cook's a mentally soft football player. This is not why, by the way. But he's a professional adult. You're going to get sacked because your quarterback got hurt. That's an excuse, not a reason. It's also I don't think why. He just isn't as good this year. He's bad, and the regression was already there. Like his camp is going to spin the exact same thing of they already sent it out. Like Pelissero, who I think is a great reporter, is clearly just copy-pasting tweets from the agency. Everything changed when Rodgers got hurt. No, it didn't. He wasn't that good. That's why he wasn't playing. Look, it's practice squad again, sure, but you can't just say the Jets were bad and that's why Cook was bad when the starter is averaging coming off an ACL tear is averaging a full yard and almost a half more. It's the same offensive line they're both playing behind. One guy's good, one guy's bad. At that point, you have your differences in your controlled variables, right? And Pollard and Dowdle's numbers are all down this year. That might be an offensive line thing. Well, one guy's good, one guy's bad. The offensive line's the same. Oh, no. Thank you, Elmatic7, though. I appreciate that. We'll see what happens with Dalvin Cook, if he gets claimed on waivers or not. And that's it for today's live show. Appreciate all the chaos and everything that went on for this one. It was we did the early Collins video, got all the way to the end of the live show, and then he signs. It was just utter chaos there as La'el Collins signs the Dallas Cowboys. Another super chat, though, before we go. At the buzzer from Chris B. says, go get Doug Free and Ronald Leary, too. First off, we have a tendency as Cowboys fans to just despise who we think is the weak link on the offensive line, even though they aren't. It was Doug Free and Connor Williams for years. And then, Ronald Leary was good, but his knee kind of fell apart on him in Denver. There was a while where you really missed Doug Free on this team, didn't you? But this is a funny bit of you're going to bring back all the Cowboys legends. Travis Rick's down 100 pounds. Can he come back and play still? You do miss him, by the way, in a pretty massive fashion. Appreciate everyone who tuned in here. If you missed our La'el Collins breaking news segment, we'll have that video available for you on the channel in the not too distant future, so make sure you are subscribed.